to the Australian people. And he needs to come clear. I mean, this guy is lying constantly. He's telling Australians that everything's all right. Everything's rainbows and lollipops right now. Well, it's not. Australians are suffering. We see that in the data today. And that's our focus right now. That's our focus right now, is how we make sure that Australians can get ahead when we've seen a government that has completely lost the plot. It's out of its depth, it's out of touch with what we're really seeing on the ground for hardworking Australians. We'll take one more. Yeah, over here.
Just on the public service, so the coalition wants to reduce waste in the public service, often referencing 36,000 ASL increase under Labor, but that number is not just in Canberra. So are you committing to only cut jobs in Canberra if elected, or would you cut it from other areas as well?
So Australians expect and deserve an efficient and effective public service, but what they don't want is a bloated bureaucracy on taxpayer dollars. It does seem that this Labor government has forgotten that every single dollar that it spends is a dollar that somebody else has earned. A 36,000 ASL increase in the public service is the equivalent of a 20% increase. And yet we haven't seen a 20% increase in the standards of service. In fact, we've seen standards of service go backwards under Labor. It now takes 48 days to apply for an aged pension. It used to take around 30. It's now about 5 times the wait time to get a low income card from Services Australia. The wait time, if you're on the phone to the Parents and Families helpline, is around an hour. An hour. And times have blown out for the older Australians helpline as well. So you can see that standards have gone down, even though the number of people working in Services Australia has increased by around 4,000. The size of the Department of Energy and Environment has doubled. It's doubled. And yet approval times have increased and emissions have gone up. Standards have gone down under this government, and at the same time they've provided an 11% pay rise to all public servants, not just the 36,000 new ones. Australians rightly and expect quality services from their government. They don't need a bloated, overly expensive bureaucracy to deliver lower service standards.
Those percentages you quoted there obscure the fact that a lot of these jobs were being done under the previous government by consultancy firms, by labour hire and so forth. Could you clarify how many public servants you would like to see cut, for instance, from the Finance Department, from the Treasury Department? We've heard different numbers.
No, I'm not going to do that, Josh.
We've heard different numbers from David Littleproud, for instance, last year he said all 36,000 would be cut. PR interview, Jacinta Price on the weekend in the Australia suggested there would be no cuts, and then later clarified that there would be some cuts or a hiring freeze. Could you clarify exactly what we're talking about here? Is it a hiring freeze? Is it firing workers? Is it asking people to take redundancy?
One of the fantastic things about having Jacinta Price on board is that we now have a shadow minister purely focused on government efficiency, not just where that waste is occurring, but where the services can also be improved. That's what Jacinta's focus is going to be on. Now, the 36,000 public servants are new. We will contain the growth in the public service, and we will make sure that the public service is right-sized to deliver the services that Australians expect and deserve. We will not be cutting essential services. Let me be very clear on that. We have no intention of cutting essential services. And if Labor tell you that we are, well, that is a scare campaign. That's all it is. We want to make sure that Australians get the services that they deserve, that they expect, but that it's done at a fair and appropriate price, and that our public service isn't crowding out our private sector, which is going backwards right now. The public sector is supporting the economy, and the private sector is retreating. We cannot have that continue.
Is there a number by which you'd like to see that go down? Now, we've heard numbers from 0 to 36,000. There must be some.
We've said that the 36,000 are the new public servants, and that's no secret. That's in the budget papers. This is something that the government is crowing about. Not only is it crowing about it, but with that 11% pay rise, there is a $7 billion black hole in its own budgeting. Because Katie Gallagher has been saying that there is no cuts to public service under a Labor government, and she's given them an 11% pay rise. But if you look at the MyEFO figures, public sector wages have flatlined. Well, both cannot be true. There is an enormous black hole in Labor's budget on public service wages. That's up for them to explain.
No, I'm going to have to run. We'll make this the very last one. Yeah.
After the stage 3 tax cuts implemented by Labor, the Coalition said they were going to revisit income tax
Oh, well, look, bracket creep is hurting Australians. There's no question about that. We see the collapse in living standards. It's been contributed to by the sharp rises in prices, which we see today in the living cost indices, the sharp increase in mortgage payments, which again are in the employee living cost indices, and of course increases in personal income taxes being paid that are at record levels. And we'll assess what the budget situation is as we go into the election campaign, and we'll make decisions on what's available. But I tell you what, what we do know is that as Labor spends every extra dollar that Australians are earning with these increases in personal income taxes are being paid, we know that Australians are really suffering. We know that. And you only have to look at the employee living cost index today to see just how much. But I also encourage you to talk to your local small businesses, talk to those around those small businesses. That pain is deep, it's real, and this Treasurer and this government are not across it, they're out of their depth and they're out of touch, and we can't afford another 3 years of Labor. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you.